Glad that you're here today, and grateful for our choir and orchestra and for their leadership, for the Feltons coming and leading us in worship today. And we're delighted that you're here. If you are a guest, we're certainly glad that you're here and so honored to have you as a part of our fellowship today. And we'd love to have a record of your visit. There's a couple things you could do. There's a card there in the pew rack in front of you where you can hit a QR code there, and it'll take you to our website, and you can leave a record there, and you can find out more about us, or perhaps you just want to fill that out. And I would encourage you to do that, and just put it in the one of the offering boxes as you leave near the doors today, and we would appreciate that very much. We want you to make yourself at home. We're delighted to have you here with us. There are a lot of exciting things that are going on. We are continuing to make commitments to our missions offering. We've been talking about that the last couple of weeks, and I hope that you saw the video that we sent you of the service 2 weeks ago. But this is an important opportunity for us as a church, and there are some cards there also in the pew rack where you can make a commitment. You can drop that also in the offering box. And to your commitment over and above your tithes and offerings to our missions opportunities this year. There's something going on all the time. Yesterday, we had a group of folks that were at Livesey Prison, and they spent the day there ministering to those. There were probably 200 to 300 inmates that were there, and a part of that, it was a great opportunity. I was able to stop by there. So grateful for all of our volunteers and that they were there just to minister to them, share with them, feed them. It was a great day, and it was a great opportunity. And it's something that through our missions offering we get to be a part of. There's something going on here all the time. That's why you want to be a part of that. And a lot of it you don't even see. So I'm just grateful for them doing that, and I hope that you'll be a part of that missions effort, because it just gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different things for the kingdom of God. There are also lots of opportunities in your bulletin today for us to grow as disciples, as followers of Christ. Hope you will take advantage of those opportunities, because we live in a world, and this helps me move right into what we're talking about today. We're living in a world where people face all types, and the people around you are facing all types of challenges, and they do not know what to do. And believe me, you have a great deal of knowledge. If you are involved in this fellowship, you have far more knowledge than the average person has out there that can give them encouragement in terms of their Christian life. It's an opportunity that we have to serve and make a difference in the world in which we live. So we hope that you will take advantage of those opportunities. We're in the midst of a series of messages that we're really just beginning, that I've called Facing the Giants. And over the next several weeks, it's going to be so impacting on you, because we're dealing with issues that everyone deals with. I mean, there are no exceptions here. Issues in our life that become giants, they become problems in our life, and we look and we see biblical principles that help us. It will change your life. That's what will happen. I mean, it'll change your life. It'll be a paradigm shift for you. A paradigm shift is something where you make changes and you do something differently. You've done it before. Well, in all the areas that we're going to be talking about, and today we start talking about fear. And all of those things that we deal with, every single one of us deals with that. And what we need is a paradigm shift. That's what we need. I want you to do something for me. I want you to fold your arms like I have, right here. Everybody fold your arms, okay? Now, that's pretty comfortable for you. I look around. Some of you are doing it wrong. But everybody do that. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to reverse it. Just reverse it. Does that not feel weird or what? I'm telling you what, Trudy Morrow will spend the rest of the day trying to figure out, I just saw her trying to figure out how to do that. It takes a while because you just do it. You think about it. You've never done it but this way. This is the way that I've always done it. So but to switch that like that, it just seems weird to me. That's a paradigm shift. What we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks, and I'll tell you, I want you to share this with people that you know that are struggling in their life. What they need is a paradigm shift. They need to make some change. And God gives us instructions in our life as to how we can do that. We need to make a paradigm shift because we never know when the attacks are going to come in our life. Today we're going to talk about fear. Fear is an overwhelming thing. You know that I haven't counted it myself, but I did check the resources. They tell us that fear not is used 366 times in the Bible. One for every day of the year, even a leap year, okay? That we are to fear not. If you look at courage, it's used about 150 times. The word afraid is used about another 150 times. In other words, our lives are filled with what do we do with fear? Because you don't know when it's coming. Sometimes it's just the things that you have in your life. Well, I'm scared of this or I'm scared of that. But most of the time, it's an area in your life where it brings real fear in a personal nature, in a spiritual nature, sometimes in the area of emergency. I was on an airplane this week and I was seated. I was on the aisle, and there was I don't know. There was a man and woman traveling together. I, of course, didn't know them, and so I'm sitting there and I'm reading a book, and all of a sudden I hear a bam. I mean a bam, and I couldn't see. He was sitting next to me. She was sitting by the mirror, but she had just fainted. Boom, and hit her head on the table that was open in front of her. And it was just bam right there. Well, he starts to do something with her. Obviously, I can't hear. I'm kind of looking and trying not to look at the same time. And so he's trying to do something with her. And then he tries to say something to me, and it's hard for me to hear because he's dealing with her, and turned around and said something about her blood sugar and he said something about the air in the plane, which I'd never heard before, which wasn't as pure, but said it's happened before. And so he kept doing it, and he couldn't seem to get her revived. And I was certainly concerned about that. And I said, do you want me to get some help? In a couple of seconds, he said, I probably need somebody. So I looked around, and there's nobody right there. And I happened to be toward the front of the plane. And so I looked around, and the flight attendant was serving all the way to the back of the plane. So I get up, and I go to the back of the plane. Now, several people around us have started to notice this a little bit, and so I go to the back of the plane, and frankly, I'm a little bit concerned. So I go get the flight attendant. Flight attendant comes up there. What do you need? He says something like, "This has happened to her before. She's blood sugar," and then he said she needs some oxygen. And so the flight attendant goes and gets a small tank of oxygen and brings it there. Now, I'm standing up in there. Now, who do you think the people in that plane are looking at? Okay, there's only one person to look at. They can't see what's happening in the seat. They're just looking at this dude standing in the middle of the aisle. I don't know if I should be looking at them, looking at the flight attendant, looking at everybody else, leading them in a song. I don't know. So I'm trying to figure that out, but I'm a little bit concerned. So then he starts trying to give her oxygen. Now, this is the way all this works in this. And so she starts going around, and he can't get the oxygen tank to work. Now, I'm no help there. Okay, I'm zero. I don't have a clue as to what to do. But I think, if he's not done this before, I don't know anything about this. It comes to your mind, what if he turns that the wrong way? What if he turns it the wrong way? What if it escapes? What if it knocks it against something? What if there's a spark? It's oxygen. It blows up, and we're all headed home. I mean, really, that crossed my mind. I wasn't terrified, but I was watching it pretty close and not knowing what to do then. And so after a few minutes, and he did get it and on there, and so I stood there for a few minutes longer, and the flight attendant came back and said, they never asked for medical help or anything like that, and said, what do you need? Is there something we need to do? Do we need to divert the flight? Do we need to land someplace else? And he said, no, I don't think so. And we didn't have to do that. I'll tell you what I learned though. I learned this. I'm sure of this now for the first time. I've always known this. They don't fly those planes as fast as they can. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you what, I got to Houston quicker than I ever have before on that plane. I mean, he put the pedal to the metal on that thing. And I've never gotten there that early before because they didn't want to stop someplace else. They got 100 people who've gone to a place they don't want to go, so they don't want to do that. So they just tried to get there as quickly as they possibly could. But it was a little bit of a scary moment, unlike any that I've ever had before. Well, that happens to us all the time. All the time it happens to you and to me. How do we deal with our fears? Don't say that you don't have them, because you do. You may not share them, but you have them, and you have them all the time. And they're there, and we're going to see that as we look at several scriptures here today. Let's begin with a word of prayer. Father, we come to you today and pray, dear God, that you would help us in this most common and most practical area of our lives. We need your intervention here. Lord, this is a giant in our life, and we need to face that. So Lord, I pray you'd give us real sensitivity. Help us to have great attention here today as we do that, and we'll give you honor and give you glory in that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I want to share with you several things here, and we're going to look at a number of scriptures here. But the first thing that I want you to see is that I want you to see the truth about the fears that we have. And by the way, this is true for all of them that are there. First of all, your fears are never far away from you. It happens to you vocationally, physically, personally, in relationships, with money, driving, fixing something around the house, and everything you have. You're not ever far away from being afraid. You're not far away from that, because there's some fear. It may be greater than others, but it's always there, and it will impact your life. So they're never far away. They're never there. Also, fear will always get your attention, no matter what you're doing. No matter what you're doing, no matter where you are, no matter who you're talking to, no matter what you're involved in, when that moment of fear hits you, it becomes preeminent and it has your attention. The third thing that is most important is that many times most of us are not equipped with the courage to really face that fear. We really don't know what to do. We become a victim immediately. You lose your concentration. You lose your focus. All of those things that happen. And it happens to us constantly. It's a part of life. I mean, look at the world in which we live. Man, the media doesn't do anything. I mean, listen, watching the news is like going to the spook house, baby. Everything is there to scare you. Every single part of it. Scaring you to death. This is bad. This is gone. We have this crisis. It's going here. There's this tragedy. It's on and on and on. At least 9 out of 10 stories are always negative, always bad, and always dangerous. And so we're prepared to get hurt by that. So though they're rooted in our life, they're rooted in our environment. And this is not about the Green New Deal, which we hear about every day. No, it's just the environment in which we live. We hear about bad news. We hear about things that are scaring us. There's something wrong with your car. It's going to be worse. There's something about a test that's coming in for you physically. There's something that's happening at your work. There's something that's happening in your neighborhood. It's going on and on and on. And we live in fear constantly. We live in an environment of fear. Secondly, what we're doing is we are always, and this is a big deal, we're always trying to protect our image. Even though you have a problem with fear, you don't want somebody else to know it. You try to brick up. I mean, I'm standing there in that plane and there's 100+ people looking at me because they don't have anything to look at. And I'm trying to look like, well, I'm handling this, I'm right here. It's just a natural thing that we do. We're trying to protect an image that is there. That's what we're always trying to do. And we're always trying to stay in control of our own lives. That's the problem that we face, and that's the problem that all your friends and your relatives face. We try to stay in control rather than letting the Lord control our lives. We let the world and we let the environment and we let our image take control of our lives. And we let other people do that to us. If you were to look in Numbers chapter 13, and I remind you, it's the story of the 12 spies that were sent out. Remember? They were sent out from the people of Israel to go and spy out the promised land. I saw something here that I'd never seen before. As they went out and spied the promised land, you'll remember there were two of them. Joshua and Caleb said, hey, God has given us this land. We need to go in there and take it. But there were 10 of them. 10 of them that they went into the land and they said, we can't do it. And they said there in chapter 13, it said, the people who live in the land are strong and the cities are fortified and very large. And indeed, we saw the descendants of Anak there. And then it says down in verse 30 or 32, really, we are not able to go against the people because they are too strong for us. How did they know that? They go in there and watch them work out? Did they test them? What'd they do? They just assumed. They were scared. They are bigger than we are. Later on, it says there, it says, the land which we have to spy out is a land that devours its inhabitants. All the people whom we saw in it are people of great stature. And look at this. And it says, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and so we were in their sight. When they looked in the mirror, they saw a grasshopper. And when the people of the land looked at them, they saw a grasshopper too, according to them. How did the people of the land find out they were like grasshoppers? Did those spies go in there and ask them? Say, what do we look like to you? Oh, y'all look like grasshoppers to us. They didn't ask them that. They assumed that the world felt the same about them as they felt about themselves. That's what your fear will do to you. It'll take the worst and it will multiply it in your life. And so that became a source for them. It was their environment that was there. It was in protecting, once again, it was protecting that image. It was the idea of controlling that they were trying to do and trying to have that. And it becomes a mess for them. They try to have their own controls that are there. And so when you have these fears, what happens in your life? Here's what happens to you all the time in terms of your life. When you have this fear in your life, when you are under pressure, here's what you do. First of all, you ignore God's plan because the fear becomes the God in your life. You're wondering not what does the Lord want me to do, but what do I do because I'm afraid? And so it's there. You ignore God's plan in your life. Secondly, you come up with your own set of solutions. Here's what I need to do. Here's what I need to do. The truth of the matter is that when I'm standing there in that little situation, it wasn't dangerous. I just didn't understand it. instead of trying to figure out, well, how can I help him with that oxygen to get it going? Maybe I need to turn around and say, folks, let's pray for this woman. Let's pray for this lady. Would you join me in prayer? We know how to do that, but see, we go with our solution rather than God's solution. And when we do it our own way, then let me tell you what happens. Discouragement happens. And then, as a result of discouragement, disobedience. You decide you're going to do it your own way rather than the Lord's way. You're going to do it His way. You're going to do it your way rather than the Lord's way. That is always a mess for us. It's always a disaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you, this is where you're living. There's not a single person in here within the sound of my voice that hasn't had that happen in your life recently. And you're probably not sharing it with anybody else. Not even your wife, your husband, your kids, your parents, your closest friend. Because you don't want to be embarrassed. And so you try to figure it out yourselves. And you try to do it in your own way. And it never works. So what is the answer here? What should we do? What should we try to accomplish? Well, first of all, we have to be more serious about a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that everybody should do that, because not everybody has a personal relationship with Christ. It's really one of three possible scenarios here. I guess there are more, but at least these three. One is, you know the Lord and you say, God, what would you have me to do here? Lord, in this situation, what would you have me to say? In this time of conflict, what would you have my attitude to be, rather than just being afraid that I'm going to be embarrassed, or I'm going to be hurt, or I'm going to be disappointed, I'm going to fail? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we can go to a website and find all the phobias where everybody in the world is afraid of something. And that doesn't count all the things that happen in our mind and our heart. We have every type of phobia that you can possibly imagine. So what we have to do is we have to say, you know, whatever I have, I'm going to give to the Lord Jesus Christ. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give that to Him, because in that way, that's the only way you can survive. If you look over in Isaiah chapter 43, this is one of my favorite passages that is there in it. And in Isaiah 43, he deals with this in a very astute way. He says, this is what says, but now, this is what the Lord says. He who is your creator, Jacob, and he who formed you, Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. Hey, folks, you don't hear this very often, but let me tell you, because of what God has done for us in Jesus Christ, fear is dead. It's dead. You don't have to live in that. He says, I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they will not overflow you. And look at this verse. When you walk through the fire, you will not be scorched, nor will the flame burn you. Why would he use both those terms? Why would he use the term scorch and use the term burn? Because they both talk about fire. Because by definition, one is worse than the other. Sometimes you'll find yourself in a situation and you'll get scorched and it'll hurt. And it's like when you put your hand over that flame, you just pass over, you can feel that, and you can be scorched. It's what happens to the surface in our lives when we are scorched. But he said, I'm not going to let that happen, but even more importantly, I'm not going to let you be burned. That's what he says. I'm not going to let you be burned. And we are his. Why? Because he created us? Yeah, that's part of it. But because he sent his son to die for us on the cross. And ladies and gentlemen, you may be packed with churchianity. You may have been in a church all of your life. You may know more Bible verses than all of us put together. But if you don't have that personal relationship with Jesus Christ, that fear is going to win you over every single time. We're constantly under attack. Constantly under attack. We need every type of help that we can possibly get. And we need to believe God's word. He's not going to let us be drowned. He's not going to let us be scorched. He's not going to let us be burned. Because in Jesus Christ, we belong to him. That doesn't mean it's not difficult. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have that again. What it means is a personal relationship with Jesus Christ prepares you to face whatever is coming down the road. That's what the Lord is going to give you the strength to do that right there. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite verses is 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." God has not given us a spirit of fear. We need to be trusting him. We need to put our trust in him. And rather than looking at the object of our fear, looking at the process of our fear, we need to immediately turn and put our eyes upon the Lord Jesus. And we see that. And we understand that. That makes all the difference. Every bit of it. It makes the difference. And that thing that takes you and turns you around, that fear that's there, that terror that's in your life, that relationship that's gone south, all of those things, God can deal with that. Hey, you're afraid of running into somebody. You're afraid of a conversation that you might have to have. You're afraid of a challenge that is before you. You're afraid of the possibility of failure. All of that, the solution is rooted in having that personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And we need to be more focused with him. A second thing that we need to do is we need to identify. We need to identify those fears where we know we're being defeated. And we need to give them to him. But you need to identify them. You need to become realistic. You don't need to be carrying off just the image, which most of us do, of, oh, I'm brave. I'm not scared. That doesn't scare me. I'm not scared of that. That's not true for a single one of us. We all have those. And we need to take them and put them at the foot of the Lord. And say, God, I want you to deal with me in my life. Help me to see that. Help me to understand it. And that the Lord might do something that is truly, truly special. And once we acknowledge that relationship with him, and folks, the way that we have that relationship with him has not changed. We acknowledge that we're sinners and that we need a Savior. You acknowledge that we can't do this alone. The fears that I have, even those that you love the most, we are scared of disappointing them. We're scared of having the wrong image. We're terrified of that. And what we need to do is put our eyes on Him and say, Lord, I need You to be my Savior. And then what we need to do at that point is to invite Christ into our life. Let me tell you, folks, there are a lot of people. I was listening to a guy recently who was supposed to be an expert in this area. And he may think that he is, but at least in my perspective, he's not. Because he talked about being close to the Lord, but he never talked about having that real relationship with Him. Having a real relationship with Him. You know what? You can work in a garden all your life. You can be a farmer, but I'm telling you, sooner or later, if you're going to do any good, you're going to have to harvest. And that's what needs to happen in our lives. Sooner or later, we need to become right related to the Lord Jesus Christ. Do you know today that if you were to die tonight, you'd go to heaven? Do you know that for sure? The only way you can know for sure is to give your heart and life to Jesus Christ. It's not just to be a better person or to be more friendly or go to church more. It's to give your heart and your life to Jesus Christ. My friend, some of you need to deal with that situation in your life, and some of you know people that need to deal with that situation in their life. People that you love, people that you're close to, people that are special to you, and they don't know Christ as their Savior. Some of us are afraid to talk to them. Sometimes we're even afraid to pray for them, thinking that God may ask us to do something that we don't want to do. But we need to identify those fears and realize that Jesus is the answer. And my friend, what needs to happen in your life, and we're one of those categories in that we know the Lord, or we've got some knowledge of the Lord, or the third one is that we're just lost. We don't have any hope. That's why we're scared. That's why fear conquers us and those that we love on a daily basis. And what we need to do is we need to serve the Lord, trust the Lord more proactively. We treat the Lord as if He's a fireman, and we cry out when there's a problem. When in reality, what we need to be doing in a crazy, mixed up world that we're in, we need to be walking with Him every day. And we need to be saying, Lord, I trust You. I'm putting my trust in You. And Lord, whatever You lead me to do, I'm not going to focus on that person that I dread seeing. I'm not going to focus on that problem in my office. I'm not going to focus on a decision that's upcoming that could change my life. I'm not going to focus on the things that have always scared me. Failure, hunger, greed, whatever it might be. A relationship that goes down the tube. Lord, I'm not going to focus. I'm going to focus on You. I'm going to tell you, most of the people that you're around every day, they don't understand that. They really don't. They really do not understand it. And what we need to look at, and in closing, I just share this verse with you in Hebrews chapter 12. It doesn't mention fear, but it really is addressing the same thing. It says, therefore, since we also have such a great cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us rid ourselves of every obstacle and the sin which so easily entangles us. Let me tell you, the fears that you have in your life are an obstacle for you. They are that obstacle. And let us run with endurance the race that is set for us, looking only at Jesus, the originator and the perfecter of the faith, who for the joy set before Him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. And it says there in the last part of verse 3, for consider him who has endured such hostility by sinners against himself, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. That's the answer. That you'll not grow weary, you'll not be scared, you'll not be filled with fear, you'll not lose heart. You know, many times in the scripture that has the idea of, be courageous, take heart, don't lose heart. That's what he's talking about here, and he will take care of those fears. Now, I'm going to tell you something. As I've thought about this, and I've just had it so much on my mind, I've had the fear that, I could say this 100 times over, and some of you wouldn't hear it. You wouldn't hear it because what you've learned to live a life where I'm just going to live with that fear in my life, and I'm not going to put him first. But go back, 2 Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. He has given that to us. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, but next Sunday, in fact, I want you to make sure that you're here. Because next Sunday, my plan is to put a tool in your hand, a very practical tool. Because I'm going to tell you, there'll be a lot of people in here, you'll believe this, and say, yeah, boy, that sounds good to me, but it's going to be difficult for you when you get out there. When you have that problem in a marriage, when you have that problem in a family, when you have that problem in an office, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to revert right back to that. And so we need some tools, and we're going to try to help you with that. And I want you, if you know someone, and you do, that struggles in this area, let me tell you, you need to invite them to be with you next week. And use yourself as the example and say, listen, we're looking at this, and it'll help you, and I believe it'll help me. And I'm going to give you a tool. Our plan is to give you a tool that's going to help you. Very pragmatic, very simple, but will give you strength every single time. That's where we have to get pragmatic. We just can't talk in spiritual jargon. We've got to flesh out our faith. So if you're here today and you don't know Christ as your Savior, today is the time for you to give your heart and your life to Jesus Christ. You can't get better at anything until you know Him. To give your heart and life to Christ. You're here today and you're a believer. But the truth of the matter is, for some of us, and all of us, every one of us have done this. Something happens, boom, hits us right then. Where do we go? Do we go to the throne of the Lord? Or do we go to, what can I do about this? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to be embarrassed? Am I going to lose something? Is something going to happen to me financially? Something happening to my health? Something going to happen in my family? That's immediately where we go. And as believers, we need to be saying, God, I want to put you first, the author and the finisher of my faith. You see, believers have a responsibility to trust Him more proactively and say, God, tell me what you want to do with this in my life. I had somebody say to me, give me a phrase this week. It was extremely valuable, and he didn't even know it. We weren't talking about any subject in particular. And he said, you know what? In your life, what needs to happen is the Lord need to pray that the Lord will bless it or the Lord will block it. But whichever way it goes, you want the Lord in the center of that. That's a place where you begin, folks, and say, I'm not going to live with a spirit of fear.